All right. So for your first exercise, this is to give you some practice creating methods. And the main method is completely coded. What is missing are the methods that it is calling. And so this is like a text-based game, basically. And so you can see that we have some variables: lives, magic, health, direction, and round. And then we are using the random method or random class. And we have a Boolean called win. And you get to name your character here. And the character is going to end up going on a bit of an adventure. Okay. And so once you name your character, we are going to call a method that you need to create called init values. And what do we know about init values? Just looking at this without reading any more directions. We are passing 3 values or 4 values, and they are reference values, which means for lives, magic, and health, you are passing the actual value, not a copy. So when init values makes changes, you are changing the real thing. We are also passing the random number. Okay, and this is not returning anything. There is no assignment statement here. So we're just calling the method, passing the values. It's going to be making changes to these 3, and those changes will be reflected up here in main because these are reference values. Okay, then we have a while loop. We're going to stay in this loop until the condition is false. It is checking to make sure the lives are greater than 0, the magic is greater than 0, and the health is greater than 0. And they haven't won yet. Okay, so as long as all of those things are true, it's going to stay in here. And then the first thing they need to do is choose a direction. So you can see choose direction is a method that we need to create. We are not passing it anything, but it is going to return a value. And just looking through here, we have integer direction, so we know it's a number. And it's going to be the number 1 or something else. If it is the number 1, we are going to send them a random number that ends with 4. So there's 4 possible values. We're going to then send a reference to lives, magic, and health. Otherwise, if it's anything besides a 1, we send a number that can be up to 10. And again, we're sending it a reference to lives, magic, and health. And so obviously lives, magic, and health will be changing. And then we call check results, which is another method. And we're passing it the round number and a reference to the lives, magic, health, and whether they've won or not. So these are all reference values. These are all the real thing. So we do not need to return and store anything. Okay. And so if they pop out of this, that means one of these tested false or they actually won. Okay. So first we're going to check to see if they won. And then if they didn't win, then that means that they had a bit of an issue with lives, magic, or health. Okay, so we check lives, we check magic, and if they didn't win and lives wasn't a problem and magic wasn't a problem, well, that means then there had to be a problem with health. Okay, so we print out the appropriate messages. So first thing you're going to want to do is copy all of that and paste it. And we're going to call this Great Adventure. So we're going to create a new project. And if you have console app here, great, you can select it. Make sure the language is C#. And then if you don't see console app, you can just key in the word console and it will kind of scroll up to the top, choose console app, hit next. Okay, and we're going to call this Great Adventure. And take note of where it's putting it. Mine is going to go into the repository folder, and I've created a CIT110 folder to store it in. Make sure the solution and the project are in the same folder and click on next. Make sure the little check is here. Do not use top level statements. This will let us see all the code. Also choose whatever the highest .NET is for long-term support. And right now it is .NET 8, but that can change. It can even change within a semester. So we're going to go ahead and click create. And then what I'm going to do is highlight the current code, and I'm going to paste right over the top. Whoops. Apparently I did not copy that right. We will try it again. Oop. Copy. And then one thing you need to make sure, depending on how you spelled Great Adventure, it is kind of a convention to make that match the project name. So just make sure that it's kind of spelled the same way. All right, now, when you come in here, you will notice that the methods you need to create have red squiggles under them, which kind of makes sense because they don't exist yet. So a little trick, you can actually right click on that method, choose quick actions and refactoring, and you can actually generate the method. Now, what this will do for you is it will create the method with the correct parameters. And you'll have to obviously change the code in the method, but it kind of just gives you a little head start on the method itself. Okay, and then you can make adjustments as needed. So let's come down here and read what we need to do for init values. So for init values, it does the initial values, which we kind of figured out for lives, magic, and health using random numbers. 3 of the parameters are passed as reference variables. And we already talked about that. The 4th one is the random number object. And we are going to be using that object to retrieve values that we can use to initialize lives, magic, and health. So the rules here are the lives should be set to a random number between 1 and 10. Magic should be a random number between 5 and 15. And health should be a random number between 5 and 14. And this is the way that you have to kind of code that as an example. So I've actually given you the code that you need for lives. So let's copy this. All right, so let's put that right in here. And I'm actually going to copy it or paste it 2 more times and then modify it. So we've got lives, magic, and health. So let's change this to magic. Change this to health. And we said magic had to be between 5 and 15. And this one is between 1 and 10. So this is 15. We're going to start at 5. Okay. And health is 5 and 14. So here we're starting at 5, going to 14. Alrighty, so that is pretty much what we needed to do for this one. And I guess we can just do a little return statement. Okay, we're not returning anything because the values that we changed were the real thing. Okay, so that's init values. Now let's do that little refactoring for choose direction. And we're going to generate the method. Like I said, I like doing the refactoring. I think it comes in handy because it actually kind of creates the little shell of the method for you. Okay, and obviously we need to get rid of the the exception being thrown because that's not what we want the method to do. And here is what the method needs to do. It's basically got to display a prompt to the user to choose a direction. And then we have a little while loop that forces them to either pick a 1 or a 2. Okay, and so by the time they pop out of the loop, then we will actually have a 1 or a 2 as the direction, which we can then return. Okay, so I'm giving you an awful lot of the code for this. So basically it's a console.writeLine. And I got double quotes here. Here is the actual message. So I'm going to copy that, paste it right inside the double quotes, put the semicolon on the end. I've pretty much given you the while loop. So let's copy that. And let's see, it looks like I have to declare direction. So that would be int direction. And let's just set that to 0. We'll initialize it. And we prompted them, but we need to read it in. Oops. Actually, I'm going to do this a little different. There's a lot of different ways you can do this, but I'm trying to do code efficiency here. So we'll declare direction while we are reading it in. So this is an int.parse, console.readline. Okay, so at this point, we'll have the number that they keyed in. And as long as it's not a 1 or a 2, we've got you entered an invalid number, enter a 1 or 2. We read whatever they keyed again into direction, and it will stay in there until they give us the valid number. Okay, and then once it pops out of the while loop, we have to return the direction variable. All right, so now that one is done. Okay, so I think that you guys are kind of getting the hang of it. I'm going to let you do the rest, but I would honestly do the refactoring for actions and also check results. Okay, and then it's just a matter of reading through the directions and putting in the code. Okay, so once you're done, you'll save this and run it. If you do have problems, you can always copy and paste everything into an email and send it to me. Your second exercise, you're going to create your own interactive story. Okay, so you have an interactive story that I've given you, and now you're going to do your own. And I should mention that all of these need to be put in GitHub. So, you know, assuming that this is completed, which it is not, but assuming it was, I'd go up to Git, create Git repository. If this is the first time you are trying to connect to your Git repository, you'll have to put in your account, and then it will want to verify that you are who you say you are. So you'll have to end up going out there and entering your password. Okay. And then this is the name of the project. Make sure that you remove the check so it's not private, and then you'll be able to create and push.